Welcome to a candidate forum featuring candidates for Sacramento County District 4. I'm Roseanne Chamberlain, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the volunteer moderator for today's forum. This forum is being sponsored by League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. The forum is being broadcast live and will be rebroadcast throughout the day on Sundays between now and Election Day. The format for this 30-minute forum will be as follows. Each candidate will give a 1.5-minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will respond to prepared questions that I will ask. These questions were derived from our solicitation among community groups, League of Women Voter members from your district, the district that you're running for, and from the media. You will have 1.5 minutes for each question to respond, and then you will have a 1.5 minute at the end for a closing statement. We've flipped a coin, and Susan Frost will be going first. Mike Kozlowski is the other candidate who is here, so that they are both introduced to you. And we'll start with the opening statement from Susan Frost.
Good afternoon. I'm Sue Frost, and I'm running for Sacramento County Supervisor to make public safety, fiscal responsibility, and job growth the top priorities for Sacramento County. I want to work with the community to help veterans reduce homelessness and bring local resources for homeless and victims in District 4. I'll fight to ensure that Citrus Heights, Folsom, and all 5 unincorporated areas of the county have a voice and a seat at the table on issues that are important to them. I'm proud to be endorsed by 3 former rivals from the primary. We need to ensure that our neighborhoods are safe and make it easier to create jobs. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Sacramento County Probation Association. I'll work to reduce fees and regulatory burden on business owners and improve customer service at the county. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. I'll push back when state and federal politicians try to pass their budget shortfalls onto local government, and I'll look for wasteful spending and economies of scale to maximize funding opportunities at the county level. I'm a council member, former mayor, I've worked on multiple regional boards, and I was a business owner for 33 years. I promise I will never forget who I work for. Thank you.
And the opening statement from Mike Kozlowski.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting this and for all the time that goes into maintaining Voters Edge online. It's an excellent source for information about candidates and issues. And then I'd like to thank my wife, Kim, and my daughter, Annie, who've joined me today because they're both women voters or aspiring women voters. And thank you to all of the folks that have helped me on this sort of grueling path to Election Day, because I've got lots of friends who have put their own hobbies on hold to help me with this. I've had the opportunity in the past to be part of groups that have made selections for endorsements, and I've watched election processes and have sort of set a 3-part guideline for myself for what a candidate should be able to demonstrate in order to be endorsed by me. And as just one voter, the things that I look for are selflessness, the ability and competency for solving complex problems, and the ability to communicate effectively and win the support of others. I've demonstrated those 3 things, and that's why I am supported by a wide-ranging group of elected officials, labor groups, business groups, and law enforcement groups. And I'm very proud of their endorsements, including Roberta McGlashan and the 3 previous supervisors that held this particular job that I'm seeking. Thank you very much.
Good. We'll move directly to the first question. You're seeking to replace a spot filled by Supervisor Roberta McGlashan. She easily won re-election in both 2008 and 2012. Can you give us an example of one vote that McGlashan made that you disagree with and explain why you would have voted differently? The first response will come from you, Mike.
Gotcha. Mrs. McGlashan has endorsed me, and part of the reason that she did is because we're very like-minded on many, many topics. So right off the top of my head, I can't say that there's one thing that we absolutely disagree on. I will say that she's represented us in a very fine fashion, and I'm grateful for her support and advice, and look forward to maintaining that relationship with her over time.
Good. Is there something that you could comment on that she did, to use the remaining few seconds, that you thought was a great idea?
I think that her sort of open-mindedness for reaching across the table and thoughtfully considering issues affecting the labor groups that represent the people that work for the county, I think she's been particularly valuable in that role, and I support doing that in the future.
Good. And Susan?
The only thing I can think of, I believe the county supervisors voted unanimously on the plastic bag ban in the unincorporated areas of the Sacramento County. I would not have supported the plastic bag ban, in part because of my experience on the Citrus Heights City Council. During my year as vice mayor and mayor, we were privileged to be part of a beta test where we did the Purple Bag program, which was a collaboration between Dow Chemical, American Chemistry Council, City of Citrus Heights, Republic Services, and a couple of other companies, whereby we took recycling to the next level, and we recycled soft plastics. There were about 20% of our citizens that volunteered to do this, and we recycled those soft plastics into purple bags and shipped them up to Oregon to convert soft plastics into crude oil. It was very exciting. We loved it. We wanted to continue it when we were done. The reason I wouldn't have agreed with that banning plastic bags in the county is because it didn't solve the problem. Plastic bags only represent about 2% of the overall plastic in the ocean, and we could solve that problem just by bringing a factory and jobs to our region to take recycling to the next level, and we could continue manufacturing plastic bags. Consumers could get a rebate on those plastic bags, and the bags could go to the factory, be converted to crude oil. We've created jobs, and we didn't need a policy.
Thank you. The next question will be answered first by you, Susan. What do you think should be done to improve mental health services within the county?
So mental health is a real challenge. This is an example of the fact that policymakers have a responsibility. With every policy that we pass, there are intended and unintended consequences. And I guess back in the 70s, there was a policy that shut down a lot of our mental health institutions and services, and now we have a problem. We have an underserved community of mentally ill. Many of them are homeless, and we know that the county spends over $40 million a year on homelessness. What I've done is I have collaborated with hospital CEOs in the region, specifically on mental health and the issues. In fact, while I was walking precincts, I ran into an emergency room physician from Folsom who said, "Sue, this is a real problem because we're actually having to put mental patients on 72-hour holds in our emergency room." What I would do is I would look to Alameda County, who is creating some outsourced solutions. I would look to the insurance and Medicare to create another code so that emergency room, we have the ability to fund different opportunities for mental health through our insurance companies. And I would look to our nonprofits and local resources in District 4 to bring resources to District 4 to help our mentally underserved.
Thank you. If either of you needs me to repeat the question, don't hesitate to ask. If you'd like me to do that, I will. But Mike, you can talk to us about mental health.
Terrific. Yeah, so mental health is a complicated problem to manage and address, but I think the elemental problem that we have right at the moment is that the capacity of the services that are offered by the county doesn't match the problem. And that's the truth of a lot of different county services, and in order to be able to address those, it's going to require somebody that can bring together a diverse group of interest holders in that. And as I was going through my campaign and seeking endorsements, one of the groups that endorsed me was the Hospital Council of Sacramento region, and another was the deputy sheriffs, and they have essentially the same issue, that emergency rooms are being used as the first line of defense for mental health treatment, and it's an inappropriate setting. The county jail gets used a lot in that same way. It's an inappropriate setting. What we need is more ability to put people into proper treatment rapidly, and that will take an enormous burden off of the hospitals of our region, off our deputy sheriffs, off the county jail, and ultimately will allow us to provide better services. I've worked and spent a great deal of time talking to Patrick Kennedy, who's on the Board of Supervisors, about this topic. He's passionate about it, and I'm prepared to help him with whatever he needs to get it done.
Great. You'll be answering first on the next question, and it has to do with business. If you're elected, what specifically would you do to keep and attract businesses in Sacramento County? And what are the most important things that the Board of Supervisors should do to keep and attract businesses to the county?
Right. I've made the absolute message of my campaign that I want Sacramento County to be the best place in California to run a business, find a great job, and raise your family in a nice, safe neighborhood. If we have safe neighborhoods and we address public safety, it helps businesses find Sacramento County awesome. If we have businesses that see Sacramento County that way, we have more great jobs. What we need to do is get out of our own way and make it easier for businesses to move here, make it easier for businesses to start here, and make it easier for businesses to grow here. As it stands right now, one of the most complicated things that a small business owner might face is the building permit department here in Sacramento County. It's a complicated process that is complicated because there are necessary restrictions on building, but that process is something that you might encounter only once if you're a restaurant owner, or only once if you're an accountant. And we need to make that process as straightforward and transparent and easy as possible so that all of those small businesses can get off the ground and create great jobs here in Sacramento County.
Great. And Susan?
Sacramento County is positioned to be the fourth large economy in California behind San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles, and we are going to have growth and wonderful opportunities in the coming decades. I think the most important thing that we can do to help our businesses is to promote public safety and prioritize that in our budget, starting with enforcement with homeless criminals who have been released into our neighborhoods because of state policy that's trying to reduce the prison population. I also have talked with a lot of business owners who are worried about onerous regulations and fees, customer service at the county level, and timelines. And so I would work hard to educate our county employees and improve our processes so that we can say what we can do and then do it and deliver consistent customer service at the county level. I believe in free enterprise, and so whenever I'm looking at policy decisions, I would work hard to make sure that I'm looking at not only what are we intending to fix and does it really fix the problem, but how much is it going to cost the taxpayers and to administrate that problem. So at the end of the day, also I would support a strong early public process so that the citizens have a voice in every decision that's made.
Thank you. Susan, you'll have the first response on the next question, and that is, what is your position on the Capital Southeast Corridor?
So I support the Capital Southeast Corridor. It is going to relieve pressure on Highway 99 and Highway 50, and it will also create some wonderful economic boost to Folsom and Rancho Cordova and Elk Grove, and relieve And it will be good for the entire region. The challenge with the Southeast Connector is that there's not enough funding. I'm very proud to be endorsed by all three of my former rivals from the primary, and one of them, Carrie Howell, who's a council member in Folsom, has agreed to work with me. We're going to be forming a task force. In fact, we've already begun to meet with some businesses and lobbyists who will be helping us find the money to finish the Capital Connector. Even if Measure B does pass, there still isn't enough money to finish the connector and work through some of the issues along that thoroughfare. So that will be one of my top priorities, is to identify funding for the Capital Connector.
Thank you.
Good.
And Mike.
I also am a supporter of the Southeast Capital Connector. It is a vital bit of infrastructure improvement that's going to help the county thrive for the next 30 years. It's been estimated by Sacramento State that as many as 25,000 jobs will be added to our economy just by virtue of having the ability to move people back and forth from Folsom and out to Elk Grove and areas beyond. The gentleman that, one of the gentlemen that has endorsed me that's on the Folsom City Council, Jeff Starsky, is actually on the board of the Southeast Connector, and he and I, along with the director of the Connector, Tom Zotkowski, have met many times over the years, and I've known both of those fellows for a long time, and they're passionate about it. I'm passionate about it. We're going to find the ways to pay for it with or without Measure B, and it is vital to our success here in Sacramento County.
Good, thank you. Mike, you'll be answering the next question. What is your position or thoughts on the expansion of Mather Airport? The question includes more detail here, but your ideas
Sure.
and the priorities on that would be.
Yeah. So Mather Airport is a special consideration for part of District 4, and that's the people that live within the flight path in Folsom. And there's been a great deal of angst over the number of planes that go in and out of Mather. I view Mather as an economic development bonanza, potentially, and it's mostly not related to moving freight in and out by airplanes. It's a tremendously large piece of property. It sits along this connector project that we were just talking about, and it's an untapped area to grow our industrial base, perhaps, add additional residences, and it's just a great opportunity to add a lot of business vitality to the county, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to add a lot of air traffic in and out of there. We need to be sensitive to those issues. There's many of my neighbors in Folsom that have to live with those planes flying over, but as it is right now, it's a modest number, and I'd like to see it remain somewhat modest.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
And Susan, can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts about Mather?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What is your position on the expansion of Mather Airport? There's more detail in my question, but I'm interested in getting some ideas that you have about Mather in addition to strictly the expansion.
Okay. Well, in general, I support Mather. I think that Mather is a jewel, along with McClellan, in our region, an economic jewel. I know that there are concerns over the past, as Mike has mentioned, with the air traffic and noise, and we definitely, I know that Supervisor McGlashan has worked with that. The benefit I see from Mather, not just with economic development, but also our Metro Fire has created some wonderful resources out there at Mather that are going to, in theory, provide an emergency response location in the event there was ever a catastrophic event on the East Coast. We would have an emergency response on the West Coast by virtue of, the length of that runway and the resources that are out there. So it's a wonderful resource in our region and an important part of economic development for the region. And I'd just like to close by saying that I will always want to hear from my constituents in District 4 to understand their concerns and be able to respond to those.
Good. Thank you. The next question has to do with coordinating and cooperating between the cities and the county. The question says that sometimes the cities and county are at odds and have different goals with how to resolve the regional challenges. What will you do to ensure that there's coordination and cooperation? How will you bridge the gap between the cities and the counties?
Well, I don't think it's so much a matter of a problem between the cities and the county as it is an issue of, are we in District 4, the outlying rural areas of the county, represented equitably? And I've already, during my year as mayor, hosted an event in Citrus Heights whereby we brought in policymakers from the 6-county region. Mayor Kevin Johnson was our keynote speaker. There were 250 people there to discuss how policy decisions impact the local economy. So one of the things I would do is continue what I have been doing, which is to promote a dialogue between policymakers, business owners, and the county experts, employees, and the residents, so that everybody's on the same page and understands, the wonderful opportunities that are coming to us, our options, and so that our citizens out in District 4 have the ability to engage and have a voice and a seat at the table as part of that discussion as to how we're going to move forward. I also think it's really important that we promote that collaboration so that everybody understands that what happens in one side of the region can benefit all of us. So none of us are an island. Together we can be great.
Good. And Mike?
Thank you. I think the issue of coordination and cooperation between cities and the county and unincorporated parts of the county and other interests oftentimes is just simply a discoordination of goals. Not everybody can get behind the idea that we need to manage and resolve our issues of homelessness, but not everybody has the exact same priorities when it comes to spending money on those issues or feels the problem as intensely. So the residents of Rio Linda, for instance, in District 4 have a real sincere concern about how homelessness is managed in their area, and it's not exactly the same as you go to other parts of District 4 or other parts of the county. I said when I started that one of the 3 considerations that I always have for candidates that I would vote for is that they be somebody who can communicate effectively and can build consensus. And on some of these very complex issues that we face, that needs to be the elemental role of a supervisor here in Sacramento County. They need to be able to bring people to the table, and they need to be able to win them over to a consolidated, coordinated plan for addressing the very complex problems that we have to deal with.
Good. Time flies. We're at our last question. And Mike, I'd like you to talk a little bit more about homelessness in the county. The question is, what would you do on the Board of Supervisors to change the county's approach to homelessness?
Yeah, I think the issue of homelessness is one of management. There's a certain amount of homelessness that's part of the human condition. Some people choose to be that, or by happenstance find themselves homeless. The ones that find themselves by happenstance homeless, we need to be able to house them immediately. We need to get them services immediately, and we need to be able to get them off the street so that they can live a healthy, productive life. And if that means accelerating their path into substance abuse programs, accelerating their path into housing, accelerating their path into mental health treatment, all of those things need to be looked at carefully and coordinated carefully. As it stands right now, and as I mentioned earlier, it's unfortunate, but the first line of defense or the first line of treatment, unfortunately, for a lot of people that find themselves homeless is they find themselves in the criminal justice system. And that's just not the way that thinking Christian Christian people or any people should treat their neighbors and people in their community.
Good. And Susan?
Homelessness is not illegal, and it's a very complex issue. I'm not sure I would change the county's approach as much as maybe add to what they're doing. I think the county has worked very hard. They invest over $40 million a year in homelessness. Causes of homelessness are complex: addiction, mental health, post-traumatic stress. In some cases, it's just people who have given up on society because they can't stand a life of judgment any longer. I think that we definitely need to find ways to move resources to the outlying areas of the county. Since they built the arena, a lot of the homeless downtown have been displaced to the outlying areas, and our police are actually driving 45 to 55 minutes to connect homeless people with resources. So I would work to add more resources to the outlying areas of this county, and I would form a task force to within the District 4 to find ways to collaborate with nonprofit organizations who are passionate about this issue and bring that resource to team up with the county to help us help them.
Great, thank you. We'll turn now to the closing statements, and if you can wrap up in under a minute and a half, that would be great. Susan, you're first on that.
So I want to thank the League of Women Voters and Metro Cable and our moderator for hosting this forum this morning. The county faces numerous challenges and many complex issues. I've dealt with them as a city councilwoman and while serving on numerous regional boards. Public safety is the government's #1 responsibility and my top priority. We need to grow our economy and create better paying jobs. As a business owner, I know the challenges that businesses face. We also have to ensure that responsible budgets and stand up for taxpayers. I have done it as a councilwoman, and that's why the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association endorsed me. I'll also bring new focus and resources for homeless, veterans, and victims. I've done it in the city of Citrus Heights as a councilwoman, so I have the experience and the record of getting it done, not just talking about it. In this election, the biggest difference between the candidates is experience. That's why the majority of my fellow city council members and all of my former rivals from the primary have endorsed my campaign, along with mayors and council members, school board members, state assembly members, and groups throughout the region. I have proven that I will stand up to special interests. I will never forget who I work for. Learn more about me at electsufrost.com, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
And the final closing statement.
Thank you very much. I'm running for county supervisor because I want Sacramento County to be the best place in California to find a great job, run your business, and raise your family. We do that by focusing on economic development. Economic development is the engine that allows us to solve all of the other complex problems that we face and fund the public safety that we desire. So economic development is my #1 goal. The issues that we face are complex. The person that sits in this District 4 supervisor chair next needs to be prepared to address a constellation of problems quickly and effectively and be able to communicate solutions and find creative ways to address these problems directly. We simply can't allow homelessness to persist the way that it does. We can't allow our mental health services to not fit the needs of the people that need them. We can't allow our roads to deteriorate, and we can't let anybody ever say that Sacramento County is not the greatest place to run a business. I am a champion and I'm an optimist, and I've spent my entire life preparing to solve complex problems and win converts to plans and creative solutions. And that's why I've been endorsed by the Citrus Heights, the Folsom, the Sacramento, and the Rancho Cordova Chambers of Commerce. It's why the Deputy Sheriff's Association has endorsed me, and it's why elected officials, including Roberta McGlashan and her 3 predecessors, have endorsed me. It's why I'm seeking your vote. Thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you for hosting Voters Edge. Thank you to the women voters in my life. Thank you.
Good. On behalf of League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Commission, I thank all of you who are viewing this forum for your attention and interest in making democracy work. I'd also like to recognize and thank the team of staff and volunteers who support the production but do not appear in any of these broadcasts. They do a terrific job. You can get a lot more information about the election by simply entering your address at the website votersedge.org. That's votersedge.org. League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization of men and women who are seriously committed to making democracy work and work better. Join us, each of you, in voting on November 8th.